So today I'm talking about Gravity Falls again. Season 1, episode 16 to be exact, titled Carpet Diem. This one was a pretty fun one, honestly. It's not really one of my favorites. I'm going to kind of spoil it already. I'm not usually a big fan of these whole, like, body swap things, like Freaky Friday. Um, there's another one that's like a horror movie one, I think, where the girl swaps bodies with a serial killer. I don't know, I haven't seen that one, but either way, there's certain storylines that this show does that it just really are not for me. So I definitely think that hinders my viewing experience sometimes. But nonetheless, I try to go into it with an open mind because I am proven wrong occasionally. Now this one is one of those instances where I actually did enjoy it much more than I would if it were in another show or movie, I think. In this story, or in this episode, I should say, Mabel's having a sleepover with her friends. And Dipper and Mabel decide they can't share a room anymore after this because, Mabel is just too obnoxious. Like, they're getting on each other's nerves. Dipper doesn't want her to have her friends over. He's being super controlling. And Mabel is just really pushing Dipper's buttons at every turn that she can. So they agree that it's time to kind of move on and choose different rooms. So they find a spare one in the shack, which contains an old carpet, and it turns out that, people could swap bodies when they shuffle their feet on it and, kind of touch. Kind of like when you would shock somebody from being on a carpet. Same concept, just you swap bodies apparently, which is very fitting for this show. And I love the concept. It's very creative while going back to something that we all used to probably do as kids. So I thought it was a lot of fun implementing that. This leads to a lot of, hijinks in the episode. In the episode, Dipper and Mabel are fighting for who gets the room, so this kind of helps them because now they kind of like sabotage each other while being in the other's body. They mess with Stan, but there's a really funny bit here where Mabel is in Dipper's body, and she's telling Stan off, thinking that it'll hurt Dipper's chances of getting the room, but Stan actually likes it. And he favors Dipper more after that. And it reminded me a lot of the scene in Ted. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's when Ted is working at the grocery store and he does not want the job. So he's interviewing and he just kind of tells the store manager off. I'm not going to get into the nitty details because, well, this is a more child-leaning show. And I don't know what my general age of audience is watching this, but let's just say, Ted says some pretty bad stuff to the manager, and instead of firing him, he like promotes him. He gives him a raise or he hires him. Like, it's just funny to see those kind of situations. I don't know. That always gets me. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. So I love seeing it in this. I thought it was pretty funny. There's other body swappings going on in this episode. Sue swaps bodies with a pig and somehow manages to end up with a wife by the end of the episode because apparently the woman loves the stoic quietness of the pig. And Mabel's friends come in the room and they all start swapping bodies and it's all that craziness. But honestly, guys, there's not really a whole lot to this episode. I'm still kind of getting the feel for how I do these, which is kind of crazy. I know 16 episodes in, but I don't know. Sometimes I want to go super in depth. Other times there's just not much here, and honestly I feel like I've stretched some of the other ones that didn't really have much, so I don't really want to do that here. This is a fine episode, but like I mentioned, it does not really advance the plot a whole bunch, doesn't really do a lot for me. Although I will say, with that being said, one element I really did like, and I've said this before on this channel, is Dipper and Mabel's relationship and the stuff that they explore with that in this episode. To get a little bit personal, I can relate to this episode heavily because Dipper and Mabel, they get kind of sad at the end when they realize, like, wow, we're staying in a different room for the first time and they don't like it. So they actually end up just like going back to sharing a room. And I love that so much because when I was around the age that Dipper and Mabel are in this, I also was like sharing a room with my brother, and we were both eager to kind of have our own space. It's me especially because I was, of course, an angsty, teen or maybe like right before I became a teenager. But either way, very angsty, wanted my own space, wanted my own room. I knew for sure that that's what I wanted, and I was excited to get it. And then I got it, and I honestly regretted it. I missed my brother. I missed hanging out with him, because there would be nights where we couldn't sleep, and we would just kind of talk. And it kind of sucks, because like I said, I've said it before on this channel, but I'm not as close with my brother as I'd like to be. And seeing Dipper and Mabel's relationship, and seeing how Dipper does all of the right things seemingly in this show, I guess, is it kind of sucks, because I know that could have been my course or path with my brother had I just put my pride out of the way and actually treated him like a brother should. So I don't know, it's the weirdest thing, but there's certain things like that in these episodes that they're probably not meant to be that deep or to affect people that much, but for some reason they just really affect me and get to me. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I actually think it's a great thing. I love when shows make you think and make you ponder about especially your own life, not just something related to the show. That being said, one thing I'm not really super big on lately in these episodes is the lack of like story progression. I don't know, because I've heard that this show gets pretty crazy. I haven't had anything spoiled for me, luckily, because I don't really have that many people in my life who watch it, but also they're just not rampant on the internet, spoilers. But I don't know, I was just kind of expecting things to start ramping up more now, because I feel like overall this season, I don't really know where it's going, if that makes sense to you guys. Like, usually with a show this long, or a season this long, there's like an overarching plot, and then there's little side plots throughout the season. And I thought that there would be a much bigger overarching plot and mystery, but there's just been a little bit of breadcrumbs. Maybe I'm missing stuff. I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know without spoiling me. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing or getting. But yeah, so far I haven't really caught any of that, which does suck, because, as I mentioned, I like to have that stuff. I like to theorize. I like to string stuff together and be very schizo, like Charlie from Always Sunny when he's talking about Pepe Sylvia. I don't know. I just really like to do that, so it sucks that I can't really do that right now. Maybe that's part of the reason why I'm not enjoying these episodes as much as some of you might. Now, that's not to say I'm not, like, enjoying them. I'm just saying I'm not enjoying them as much as I do the ones that deal with some more interesting things. This episode seemed like a bit of a filler, and I've said that I feel like the past, like, 3 or 4 videos on Gravity Falls that I've done, but it is, unfortunately, it's just the truth. It does feel like it's filler. It feels like it's just kind of, an episode to be an episode. But it also, I will say, does progress a lot of the character relationships, which is maybe what they're going for. I don't know. Like I said, guys, I'm not an expert on anything I talk about on this channel, so if you're here and you're looking for someone to be an expert, you're in the wrong place. If you're here just to hang out and talk about stuff you like with someone who also likes that stuff, there you go. That being said, I think I'll wrap up the video here. Like I said, there's not a whole ton to talk about. So if you enjoyed what I had to say, please let me know down below. If you didn't, also let me know. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode as a whole. And if you did stick around this long to hear me, talk and babble on, I do appreciate it. It really does mean a lot to have you guys, to have my community growing, because I always thought it would be so cool to have, a group of people that I could just nerd out with and talk about stuff I love with, and have a positive community, because I don't know, I've never really known my purpose in the world. I'm not saying YouTube is my purpose, but it would just be cool to I don't know, I guess, be that for people. I don't know, it's really weird to describe, but it's just really cool to have anybody watching these. So I appreciate it, you guys, for sure. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.